Hi guys, how are you all today evening? Good evening. Today, in extension of my talk in the morning, I'll tell you something which is applicable both to this material as well as spiritual world. There is a proverb. It is very difficult to achieve success, but it is far more difficult to digest it once you achieve it. What does this mean? To achieve success, you need several qualities. First, luck. Second, destiny. Third, karma. Fourth, focus. Fifth, hard work. Then, integrity, organizational capacity, courage, guts, capability, capacity, qualification, etc. There are several factors which decide on the success or failure of a living entity in any profession or otherwise in this world. It is another matter that once you achieve success, it is dependent on the capacity of the living entity, whether male or the female, to digest that success in some quantity. Some can digest a small amount of success, others some medium amount, and some very large amounts. According to observations in the scriptures and the society, you need several factors to achieve success, but you need a lot of God and God's will and His grace to digest that success. What does that mean? It is a fact that almost 75 to 80% of the living entities in the society identify themselves with their false ego, that is, with their mind body complex. In that case, what happens is when the success comes, it doesn't take much time for the same success to get into the head of the living entity, because he or she actually starts believing that whatever success he or she has achieved is because of his or her deserving it and because of his or her unceasing efforts, which is a total lie. Because the living entities who are successful identify with their false ego, so they forget that it could be possible that it is because of what has been recorded of their karma and destiny of past births in their soul. In fact, they don't recognize their own soul, let alone the super soul. In that, in that circumstance, what happens is the capacity to digest the success of this living entity is limited to his or her mind body complex. This gives birth to haughtiness, arrogance, pride, conceitedness, jealousy, guilt, and other such negative qualities which prevent the person from getting towards the spiritual side of life. If a living entity remembers that this is not because of his or her effort, but it is because of God's grace and the soul's vibrations, then the capacity to digest this success increases in that living entity. In that case, the success up to a medium standard can be easily digested by a living entity who believes that it is because of his or her past karma. But if the same living entity decides or realizes or accepts that this is because of the Supreme Soul's grace on him or her, this person's success increases manifold, and so is his or her capacity to digest it. This makes the person humble, gives him humility and a capacity to understand those who are not as successful as him or her. There are proverbs in this success field. One is no pain, no gain. This is applicable to those who use their physical stamina or their mental energy to achieve success. On the other hand, it is no guts, no glory. That is also applicable to these two subjects, that is physical strength, health, stamina, and mental faculties. Whatever it is, the fact remains that the capacity to digest success depends on the living entities identifying himself or herself with false ego, or superego. That is the reason why it is said that you need a lot of God's grace to digest the success that you are achieving. If a living entity, whether male or female, is able to digest his or her success efficiently and completely, then God keeps giving success to that living entity who is humble enough to appreciate God's grace and to become his devotee. We all should behave like people who take success as God's grace so that we can digest this success materially, and then when we go into the spiritual world, we can similarly digest success in the spiritual field. This will help us realize ourselves, we get liberated, delivered, we are able to identify ourselves with Brahman, and we can go back to Godhead ultimately. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this subject. If you really feel what I have said makes some sense, kindly subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon so that I can keep informing you about my future videos and my other videos. Please pardon me for my mistake in appearance and diction, spelling and grammar, because when I am talking to you about spiritual and material matters, I am not able to concentrate on these frivolous matters. Till we meet next time, it is good evening from TSV Raghavan.